is Maureen Lewis and I'm a retired teacher. Welcome to my channel Malu Stories, where I tell you about my experiences inside the classroom and outside. Now, long before I became a classroom teacher, I was a little girl, very little, and I started primary school at 3.5 years old, and I would take the bus to school alone. Can you imagine? It wasn't a great feat, because the bus stop was near to my home. I lived in Rollington town, and there was a bus stop at the school gate, so I just take it down. My school was on Tower Street, so it was no great feat to leave from home and then go to school. And in those days, you didn't have to worry about sending off a 3.5-year-old on the street. And at primary school, I lived a full life. There was a ledge at school, and I am not the 5 feet giant that you see sitting before you here. I was very small, and so I could stand on the ledge like other students and see what was happening outside, and many exciting things was happening. I remember the school is right in front of the General Penitentiary, and I remember one day there was a fire over there, and the Prime Minister, Sir Alexander Bustamante, came down, and we saw him, and everybody could see him, and everybody was excited, because look here, this was before TV and internet and those things, so you only hear about those people on the radio, but to see him in the flesh, woo, that was the highlight of my school year. And there was a copra factory next door to the school. Now, copra, when you take out the coconut out of the shell and you let it stay there until it turns from white to a sort of oily looking thing, and that's what they used to make coconut oil. But what we did was eat it. So we'd go and beg them copra and we'd eat it, and our stomach would hurt us, and the next day we'd do it again because we never learned. Yes, I know it sounds gross, but it was delicious. And you're not supposed to leave the school compound. And for most part, we didn't. We'd sneak out and go down to the Chinese shop down the corner of the road and buy sodas for 4 pence a penny. And but for most part we weren't so bad. But one day now, I keep hearing about this place where they go and get coulis plum, and I love plum. And so one day we left school and went down to the coulis plum place, man. It was a big area that pure plum trees were there. But I don't know if you know that those plums have the prickles, maca, thorns. Unfortunately for me, I fell, and I put out my hand to break my fall, and I think I got stuck with some of those thorns. Anyway, it was hurting, but of course when I went home I said nothing, because I was not supposed to leave the school compound. But I noticed that my hand was growing bigger and bigger by the day, and it was so much pain until I couldn't take it any longer, and I told my guardian, and they took me to the doctor, and they got it banded up and put on what we call black ointment. That smell is so foul. Of course I got reprimanded terribly, and I thought my punishment with the hand was enough, because if you ever smell black ointment, you realize that you don't want that near to you at all. So I'd hold out my hand far away and act as if it was not part of my body. But eventually it healed. You'd have thought that I'd have learned my lesson. But there were many times when I would sneak away from school and go places, but I didn't get into that amount of trouble anymore, as bad as with the plum tree. I enjoyed my primary school days, but one bad thing about it was that they allowed me to skip a lot of classes. By classes I mean grades, so I'd move up and skip a grade and go up to the other grade. So by the time it was time for me to take the exam, I was much too young to take the exam. So I stayed in that grade for 3 years, doing nothing new, until I finally reached the age. And you can imagine my shock and anger and disgust when I reached high school. I saw people there were 10 years old. That means I could have taken the exam when I was 10 instead of having to wait until I was 11. But one good thing that came out of it was that I didn't really learn anything much in first term at high school, because we had done it all in primary school except for the foreign language. That was new to me. So those are some stories about my primary school days. When I used to tell the boys about this at school, you know, they say, Miss, you live in Rollington Town? So I said, yeah. When I was a child, Rollington Town was a big residential area. Because you don't know. Because when I passed, I went to high school and I went up to Uptown. It's pure bush was up there. You know, mango tree and bush and the school. You know, and I'll tell you another story another time about when I was in high school. But until next time.